Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
September 21st, 2020. Joe here at the Wake Up Channel. I just want to do a really quick video here of this crazy story coming out of Nebraska. You might have already heard this by now, but this Jake Gardner apparently has killed himself because he was indicted on some manslaughter charges. Now, if you don't know the story, it's a very simple story. There was obviously some protest and rioting, and Jake Gardner owned two bars, one called the Hive, one called the Gatsby. And his window was broken during one of these riots. He went out, I believe, with his father. He had a gun on him. I believe it was in his waist belt. And he brandished it once, warned the guy to not mess with him. And then, of course, when he put the gun back into his waistband, he was attacked by someone actually on his blind side. So he was actually attacked by three people at once. I can't even show the video because it has explicitives and the N-word and so forth. So this video will be taken down if I decide to show that. But you can actually see that online. It's a very short clip, which is really interesting though because there's many other clips that just haven't been put forward yet. So what's really interesting here is if you do watch the clip, this was obviously a case of self-defense, just like with Kyle Rittenhouse and others. I'm not saying everyone's innocent, but this is just another situation where he was innocent. Even the district attorney, the prosecutor, did not want to bring forward charges because they even believed that it was self-defense. Now, what's really crazy in all this is that they have kind of bowed to the public demands and the mob rule that we are living in under now. And this guy named, I believe his name, Frederick Franklin, district attorney, decided that he was going to have his case heard again in front of a grand jury. And they've put forward an indictment. Now, what apparent information did they get? I really don't know. I believe they had said something about a series of texts. It really wouldn't even matter. All that really matters is what actually happened. He went out of his bar, was trying to protect his bar. He got attacked. He was choked for 18 seconds. And he defended himself. That is the end of the story when it comes to all this. The mass media wants to make all of these thugs who decide they want to take their own lives into their hands and turn them into victims, to be perpetual victims all of the time.
I'll be the victim all your life.
And it's going to be like that for the foreseeable future. And of course, if Trump wins again, everyone is going to be a victim. We live in a world where everyone is obsessed with being offended about everything. We're obsessed with being victims. And we have to have that in the society to usher in Marxism. We all have to be collective victims in order to usher in a new system. They are talking about this on a daily basis about ushering a new system. And this is just another one of those crazy stories, which is absolutely more proof that we are heading down a wrong road. Now, here on CNN, they always show the most innocent picture of the victim. Here is James Scurlock, probably 15 or 16 years old. They do not show the actual picture of him when he's 22. Of course, the picture, you can see it pretty much anywhere. I think I might have some more pictures here. Yeah, here's the actual picture of him. And they don't show the bottom part. Of course, he has sagging pants and so forth. He's covered in tats. And, it's okay, to have tattoos. I have tattoos as well. But I think it's really dishonest for CNN to be showing a picture of this James Scurlock when he was 16 years old, supposedly. I'm just guessing. But they try to find the most innocent picture to make him look more and more innocent all of the time. And we are fed this narrative that the people who are rioting and looting and hurting others in the streets, they are just acting out because they are just the victims of their own circumstance, and they are just trying to get their pound of flesh or whatever you want to call it. They're just looking for justice, and it's really not their fault.
Just a poor, innocent victim of circumstances, huh?
But it's just another really sad story that we will never really know the answers to. I think that is really kind of interesting because I was looking at some of these things that special prosecutor signed. What was actually kind of weird here is that the body of Jake Gardner was found 20 minutes actually from Portland. Now, it was reported that he left the area to go to his father's house, I believe in Northern California. But what was really funny is that his body was found outside of a medical clinic. Now, if you were going to kill yourself, now, I will preface this by saying that many of his friends actually have come forward and say this guy was not suicidal. And if you look at the video, if he was truly suicidal, he would probably not be trying to protect himself and his bar and so forth. I do understand the circumstances because he was at first cleared for all intents and purposes of this charge as it was self-defense, very clearly self-defense. He gave him all chances and all warnings and all chances to get away from the danger that he was threatening on him. But then the special prosecutor wanted to bring forward multiple different charges, not just manslaughter, but also brandishing a weapon, felony assault, and so forth, and a commission of acting a felony. I mean, it's just absolute nonsense. It reminds me of all of the charges that they were trying to bring forward to the cops, or at least one cop, in the George Floyd case. Excuse me. But I believe those charges won't stick either. Now, this is a different type of case because it is clearly self-defense, just like Kyle Rittenhouse. But his GoFundMe page, just like Kyle's, was taken down. And I believe there's a story here about that as well. Jake Gardner, whose defense GoFundMe was shut down, found dead in apparent suicide after manslaughter charges. What's really interesting here is that even the cops that found this body, they did receive, I believe, a phone call, an anonymous phone call saying that someone was suicidal and they needed to check it out. It's just not, a lot of this just doesn't make sense. A lot of this really isn't adding up. They even don't have a cause of death. I believe that's even listed here. The body of a man has been charged of deadly shooting in Omaha, was found in Hillsborough Sunday afternoon. Said police officers responded at 12:20 p.m. at 300 blocks. That was reported outside of a medical clinic. Weird. At the scene, they found a 30-year-old man dead. Gardner's death is now under investigation. So it's under an investigation, right? They said it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, which could easily be faked, right? It could be faked. I mean, I'm not saying that's what it is, but a lot of this really isn't adding up. The guy wasn't even suicidal. Now, he was a Marine and supposedly was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, but he was also running a bar as well and was very successful at it. He was also writing a book, and he was off the booze for a year. So people like that don't just up and kill themselves. He knew that he did nothing wrong. He was just defending himself. He also had a very good lawyer as well that would have been able to easily dismiss all those charges. So why would he kill himself? I'm not a conspiracy theory, but when things just don't add up, they just simply don't add up. It doesn't really make any sense anymore.
I knew there was something fishy. We never got the cause of death.
There simply wasn't a cause of death, and it's still being investigated. And there has been reports of the police actually within the own police department that don't like how any of this is being handled. It's just being kind of shoved underneath the proverbial rug. But that brings forward so many more questions about the mob mentality and the mob control that it has over our judicial system now. You see how everything is being taken over. You see how district attorneys and people within the judicial system and our representatives are basically just kneeling to the mob. They are doing everything the mob wants. They want justice, so someone's going to hang for it. Of course, his GoFundMe, I mean, that's usually what goes down first. GoFundMe just takes everything down because obviously he is just a murderer. But now we'll never know. I don't think we'll ever know whether he actually killed himself, why he did it, or whether he was murdered. This is just another I mean, even his James Gardner shook up by indictment, and James Sherlock killed himself. Yeah, even if his own lawyer, even his own lawyer was completely shocked because none of it made any sense to him either. He would have suspected that his client, and he knew, and his own client knew that he had a great case, and it just none of it made any sense. Of course, Sean King is obviously took to Twitter here recently.
You ain't black.
And he is not black. He is white. He is a white person, which actually is kind of funny because another person actually came forward, another BLM protester, advocate, whatever you want to call it, someone that speaks on the behalf of a lot of the BLM protesting and so forth. She came forward and said that she's not black either. She's just pretending to be. Of course, she's white. But Sean King writes here, unbelievable white supremacist Jake Gardner. There is no proof that Jake Gardner was a white supremacist. In fact, the most of his texts that were uncovered, that were sent from his uncles in California, were basically denying all of this stuff. And he has not had any history of any kind of white supremacist. He was a Trump supporter. That's all that they need to have anymore. If you support Trump, you're a white supremacist. That's all there is to it. He indicted indicted for the murder of a young black man named now James Sherlock. Of course, he was just an innocent young black man. Wrong place, wrong time. He was warned multiple times by Jake Gardner to leave him alone, to go away, and he decided to take his own life in his own hands. He decided to attack him, and that's what he got. There's absolutely no accountability anymore for people. There's no accountability anymore for our actions. And that's the world we're living in right now. A warrant was issued for his arrest last week, but the police never went to arrest him. Today he committed suicide. No justice, right? No justice. He's dead, right? But there's still no justice for Mr. King. So that's where we're at in this country. It's just another crazy story. But if you have a mind of your own and you question any of this stuff, you know exactly what you are. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.